Asymmetrical Warfare Group, New Organizational Structure Alignments, TTTP. On the 6/7/25, I am giving a personal accounting going into closure on Max Bates Spears, former friend and soldier whose death was viciously covered up, along with others who died from 2016 to 2018 in this field. Some of the originals of Montauk shared soul shards, is what we called them, body experiences, etc. Experiences all across the board in many dire situations to expand and anchor angelic energy in the time continuum. And it's what we called the Arc Pavilion. Max was one of these kids that was put in the tunnels and hanging on chains, being bled out where blood was coming from his eyes, and yet he managed to survive supernaturally from this event. So the later gens that came before the creations, I guess you would call them, that came at the tail end of Montauk, these newer gens that came after the later ones, they can't do anything that we did. That's just the truth. So what we talk about sometimes isn't even in their narrow banded computational fields. They don't compute. They're in this single loop with no organic route to heaven, for one. There's a huge difference between us. And Max did some great stuff as a kid, and he also mishandled some stuff later on, too. He never ran Looking Glass. John Whitberg's book is pieces, really, of another kid named Zadanias, his life, and Max's, which were dually split at one point for many reasons, since they both went to Mars too. So sometimes when you were off world, your file got split. It was just for some reason the way they did things then. The synthetics malfunction when confronted with baseline truths that the older gens have. And the organic timeline, all they have is this stitched reference point and all these other reference points that they grasp to further loop themselves to continue their pathetic existences. Max was set up by two huge occult guys from Montauk. The other half of Montauk's graveyards is in Romania because the military tech connected the two, and they sent boatloads of goons to create a super secret space program, super schizophrenics program platform all over the world, all these fronts to mask others' testimonies, and they'll continue to do so in failed erasure protocols. They've been doing this since the 80s. In another 5 years, there's going to be some other synthetic sent to regurgitate the Nazis' lies, ran by probably some 19-year-old kid, some shithead, saying that he invented Montauk. So Max also had many bad influences around him. Okay, his fiance was an insectilian high witch. That didn't help. The drug influences didn't help. All the bad choices he made didn't help, compounded with no spiritual protection. It was all a tragic recipe for disaster. He had mass occultically driven influencers in his travel charters as well, navigating him into the wrong places at the wrong time. His decision making processes were skewed. And then he was initiated into OTO, and that opened the door to a whole other can of worms. And he also had full knowledge about the Romanian Sphinx complex and other networks that were there. So I believe that he wanted to change and he could see that, but he was another agent that just got buried alive, that believed the lies of the kingdom of darkness. Because when you believe the sorcery and the layering, and that the word of God is a reversal from archons and all the other tricks that they use, you come to a point where you don't know good from evil. And we have to have that solid rock to become the base and foundation from where we build on and what we build on to gain any actual authority, power, or momentum. Because otherwise, you're just weakened, you're drained, and you have no strength because strength comes from the Most High and makes all our weaknesses strong. When that yielding happens and that submission happens, it's building a strong tower around you, each choice you make, and mentally fortifying yourself and getting mentally sharper. So that heavenly voice should be our only voice that we listen to above all else. So what these people do is they use emotional trauma blackmail, on a ton of other ensnaring techniques in their network. And he was entering total recall, as a lot of us were around 2015. So he was also trying to retrace his steps. And he was one of these kids that was like a catalyst and had the potential to spark a lot of change. So he got like pulled back into this muck, I would call it, because kids like him, if their heart was in the right place, they could do wonders. And so he went looking into his past to do so in the opening of that total recall. And Cass Bolt and him both said there were no girls from our birth group as part of their programming, just to conceal the Russian aspect of the girls' twin pairing. But it's safe to disclose now. And that goes all the way back to 1912, Belovezha, Poland. And he knew about the Transylvanian Gold, American Antarctic bases, Nazi bases, on and off world, the werewolf, Ukrainian headquarters. And he killed a ton of Nazis and did exceedingly well in Normandy, France, too, and other areas. So he did eliminate a lot. He did some Russian ops too, and that advanced him into the space program farther. He was in Ketterzin and Gearlos and went back to the spot where the oak tree ritual was done, but then got trapped into having an oak tree ritual be sealed on him again against his will. And then his body was desecrated. So a ritual was done out of it. And he found the spot of Hitler's headquarters, the Wolf's Lair in Warsaw, where certain individuals' hands and feet had been cut off in wolf shans. And that's something that a certain group of travelers witnessed and saw and overcame in a certain point in time. Now, this layer was a sacred evil root where the first werewolf was born, was created, and then was hybridized to create others for the Vatican's cataloging and special ops training regimes that they had in a whole other highest military sector. And it was in Hitler's headquarters that Max was knocked over the head once by a weapon that was a relic, a Nazi relic that was also reconned and extracted from that area. So he went back to the very same spot where the time breach happened, and then he went before the time that he was supposed to, and it created a schism. It's like going into a trance and something that's time locked, you step into, and it becomes a trap for you instead of something that is supposed to be released in a certain way at a certain time and delicacy. So he was fully aware also of Operation Werewolf, and that measures had been put into place to source, allocate, and destroy the firstborn wolf's DNA instead of it staying solely in the Vatican's lab works and space files. Max was part of a group that went to Mars. Yes, he didn't fully return from there and was partially stuck in strings and pieces that were not fully transferred back smoothly like the other ones were safely guided back down home. And after realizing Mars was uninhabitable, that group of kids and what they did up there did not go back again. And a Tibetan white bat ritual was done to his body where the fire mark was on his forehead, and his 2 liters of black goo that he vomited out of his mouth was from the body switch. He'd already been prepped for this, for the sacrifice with implied consent and hypnosis and other means. Everywhere he went was being tracked. He had handlers. He had books like the Healer's Handbook and Hyperspace Helper and all this other bullshit that he had been fed for a series of years. So, what happened to him? This is heavy lifting in the spirit, in the realm of spiritual deliverance and actual freedom. When it comes to revealing truth, returning essence, this type of fragmentation, to the degree of it, to get the consciousness, soul, and spirit to come back together in all dimensions, to be processed in the courts of heaven, and then a just sentence be issued. And those courts are full when things like that happen with so many individuals on a worldwide scale. But all things are possible for these types of cases and much needed closures. And there's so many out there that have had similar things happen to them and lives that are phenomenal. They just didn't have the public spotlighting like people like Max did, and all those ill-intended individuals that were constantly surrounding him like vultures, and then also positioned exactly to be there right after he died, documenting the scene and dismissing any other's inputs right away and just whitewashing it into the narrative. And these people that act quick, they're here to replace you. They are not here to help you in any means, shape, or form. They are here to erase you, to discredit anyone who knows you, and they are the worst of the worst. Max's body was harvested on Mars, basically, and the engineers, the robotoids, these retarded kids who were sent in after at the tail end of Montauk to be activated at a certain time were the ones who did this. Why are they taking his life story and continuing to regurgitate it? You have to ask yourself that. Okay, they're activated. They're supposed to do this at a certain time to regurgitate narratives that they've already data mined, the memory banks that they've already co opted, and they were created to do exactly what they're doing. They're far from being any type of Montauk legend or a man with periwinkle eyes, etc. They're running on digital formats and can't even perceive the organic timelines because they were inserted and stitched into a lot of mini projects, like I said, and artificial timelines. And they're like a failed experiment that and they were inserted into the organic. So all they want to do is basically destroy that organic timeline, destroy those who came before them that are real in the highest essence of being real that trumps them as their existence is threatened because their existence is somewhat even fake. And the scene that they prop up is a convoluted shit show. I don't give a fuck if these kids are programmed to climb up a goddamn tree, hang themselves. I'll sit back and watch because nothing phases us older ones. We've danced on the KKK's graves and all other sorts of cults that they highly resonate energy with. They'll never get their heads out of their asses because they'll simply malfunction and expire with no energy siphoning. That's what they do. Why do you think they have to work so hard to get the energy that they need? They'll die without it. I'm just sitting here waiting for the NSA special ops testimonies, the agents, those real testimonies to come out instead of all this costume show expert panels. They just look like fools, and then they throw a new one up there all the time, and they'll just keep doing it year after year. Instead, we get these sensationalized cryptid huntresses and mages and an army of CD uploaded remote viewers and an AI driven body named Rink who collects them all and processes them all. As if that's all there fucking is. What the fuck is this shit? Are you kidding me? We buried more werewolves than these kids' ages. Do you think we'd have any problem burying some scrap metal? That whole community to me is like a dead vine that's slowly cannibalizing itself and going down the drain since they're trying to make certain circles spiral out and circle the drain. So sometimes there needs to be an intervention. Anyway, that's my 2 cents for today. I appreciate anyone who's over 50 years old, who's reached out, who has a good grasp on reality and their themselves and is just here to hold the line and appreciate others and do good and not be some feral street rat that can't even be decent, can't even understand human emotion, niceness, kindness, a compliment, nothing. These operatives, as they call themselves, like some of their consciousness is not even theirs. Like, who are you talking to when you're even talking to them? Are you talking to a fallen angel? Are you talking to an actual altar, a made up altar, or someone that's driving them? This is where we're at in this day and age. We got to worry about insubordination of robotoids. Trump just posted a text message saying a robot ran the country for a year. So, anyways, as I was saying, some of those older people that are over 50 that have reached out. You're much appreciated and loved. And I'm sorry if you never received the honor that you deserved. And I am just glad that you're still here. You're still kicking it. You're alive. Just keep a healthy guard up, a positive attitude. Don't let anyone take your peace, your happiness away. Keep doing what you do. And doesn't matter what these other ones will do because they're just going to keep doing it year after year and then new ones will just be sent out. So keep hope and love at that forefront of what guards your heart, of what guards your mind. Selah.